A quiet home, a young man with his whole future ahead of him, and a knock at the door that changed everything. When 25-year-old Patrick Della Cerda went to answer it, he had no idea someone was waiting outside with a gun. No confrontation, no last words, just 4 bullets, and a body left in a pool of blood. What looked like a random ambush would unravel into one of Florida's most chilling tales of obsession and revenge. A tale where jealousy, betrayal, and a missing engagement ring would expose a killer hiding in plain sight.
Patrick Della Cerda was 25 years old, soft-spoken, kind, a little reserved, but deeply loyal to the people he loved. He grew up in Florida, surrounded by family and animals. He loved the outdoors, his dogs, and his longtime girlfriend, Jessica Devnani. The two had been dating for over 3 years. Their relationship was solid, even through long distance and life changes. And just weeks before his death, Patrick had secretly ordered an engagement ring. He was ready to propose, start the next chapter. But what he didn't know was that someone else had been watching from the sidelines. Someone who couldn't let go of Jessica and who would stop at nothing to destroy the man who had taken his place.
It was the morning of February 27, 2018. Patrick Della Cerda was home alone at his isolated rural property in Deltona, Florida. Jessica had just spoken to him by phone. He told her he was expecting a delivery, possibly the engagement ring. At 11 a.m., Patrick heard something outside. Someone at the gate, possibly the delivery man. He went to check, barefoot, relaxed, completely unaware. As Patrick walked toward the front door, someone was hiding in the bushes nearby. A figure emerged, gun drawn. Patrick was shot once, then again, then again. 4 rounds fired at close range. There were no signs of a struggle, no screams, no chance to run. He collapsed in the entryway. Jessica, growing concerned after hearing nothing back, drove to his house. What she found was beyond comprehension. Patrick, lying in a pool of blood, motionless at the front door. She dialed 911, sobbing uncontrollably. But it was too late. The man she loved was gone, and the killer had vanished without a trace. Investigators arrived within minutes. No sign of forced entry, no theft, nothing missing. This wasn't a robbery. It was a targeted hit. Jessica was inconsolable, but through tears she said one thing with certainty. "I know who did this. It was my ex, Gregory Bender." The name immediately caught detectives' attention. Gregory Bender was a wealthy hedge fund manager who had once dated Jessica years earlier. Their relationship had ended badly, with threats, controlling behavior, and restraining orders.
At first glance, Jessica's ex-boyfriend, Gregory Bender, seemed like the obvious suspect. But detectives couldn't just rely on a hunch. They needed evidence. And Gregory, wealthy, educated, and methodical, had erased any visible trace of involvement. His alibi? He claimed he had been home, sick at the time of the murder. There were no cameras on his property, no witnesses who could place him anywhere else, and he had no criminal record, just a paper trail of restraining orders and disturbing messages. Still, without hard proof, the case remained frustratingly fragile. detectives began exploring other possibilities. Was this a case of mistaken identity? Did Patrick have any enemies? Was it a random act of violence? But again and again, everything pointed back to one name, Gregory Bender. And just when it seemed the trail had gone cold, a shocking twist came from an unlikely source. A few days after the murder, a woman walked into the Volusia County Sheriff's Office. It was Gregory Bender's current girlfriend, and what she brought with her blew the case wide open. She told detectives that Gregory had confessed to her in chilling detail. He had been obsessed with Jessica, he hated Patrick, and he had planned the murder meticulously. She handed over a notebook hidden in Gregory's home office. Inside were pages of notes, maps, diagrams, and journal entries. One page was labeled Operation Hunt, with Patrick's name, address, daily schedule, and even the make and model of his car. There were instructions on how to avoid surveillance, destroy evidence, and cover his tracks. Another entry read, "Wait at gate, shoot him at front door, do not hesitate." This wasn't just premeditated, it was cold-blooded assassination. Armed with this evidence, police obtained a search warrant. They found a hidden compartment in Gregory's home. Inside, the murder weapon, the notebook, the bullets, the final nail in the coffin. Just one day after the notebook surfaced, Gregory Bender was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. He showed no emotion, no remorse. The case shocked the community, not just because of the violence, but because of how calculated it had been. Gregory Bender had everything: wealth, education, status. But the one thing he couldn't control was Jessica. And for that, he killed. At trial, prosecutors laid out the notebook entries, the timeline, the surveillance data, and the firearm ballistics. Everything matched. The jury deliberated for just a few hours. Gregory Bender was found guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. Jessica wept in court. The ring Patrick had bought for her was never worn. Instead, it was buried with him. Patrick de la Cerda was murdered over jealousy, over obsession, over a relationship that had ended long ago. His death was sudden, violent, and cruel. But justice, at least in the legal sense, was served. Gregory Bender will spend the rest of his life behind bars. And Jessica, forever marked by the tragedy, continues to speak out about stalking and domestic violence. Patrick never got to say "I do," but his story now serves as a warning, a reminder that behind some of the calmest faces lurked the darkest obsessions, and sometimes the most dangerous people are the ones who simply can't let go. If this story shook you, and you believe more people should know just how far obsession can go, hit that like button. It helps more than you know. Subscribe to OG Crimes for more real, disturbing true crime stories told with the depth and darkness they deserve. New episodes drop weekly, and every case, every victim, every unanswered question deserves a voice. Comment below. Do you think this case could have been prevented, or was it always heading toward tragedy? Until next time, stay safe, stay aware, and never open your door without looking.